thinks we're live. Twitch thinks nothing. Yep. Oh, Twitch thinks something. Twitch also thinks we're live. And YouTube also thinks we're live, I think. Any minute now? Come on, YouTube. You can do it. Hooray! All right. Welcome to Code Hangouts number 253, where we're going to look into improving the puzzle zoom. So, the reason I'm looking at it right now is A, I got an email about it, asking about it, and B, I just built a similar feature for Thinky games. It's not live yet, but the code is ready. So I thought, you know, it's a good time to revisit the zooming on SudokuPad. And currently we have a large puzzle mode, which I'm guessing is not enabled. And so one of the points we're gonna have to do is, and I'm not sure if I want to do it or how I'm gonna go about it, but we might have to either auto enable puzzle, large puzzle mode for puzzles over a certain size, and instead of using the number of cells, I would actually like to use the size of the cell in the current layout mode versus, let's say, the size of a button. Taking, let's say, on a mobile device, let's say we go like this, mobile view mode, right? We're just gonna sort of quote unquote presume that your finger can press on the small button, let's say, right? So let's say half the size of a button. So if a cell is smaller than that, we might want to do large puzzle mode, irrespective of the number of cells, right? So, we're gonna put this here. How to trigger large puzzle UI. And we probably, what's a large puzzle? Setter data. So do we want the setter to be able to determine this? Like force it or disable it? I don't know. And do we want to force it or automatically and maybe confuse users, or basically just offer it to users? Dialogue. And then if we offer it to a user via dialogue, one second, I pressed the button on my other monitor here, and now it has a little thing open, and I'm trying to see if I can figure out how to close it. No, that's the power button. Okay, found it. If we let's say offer to change the setting, do we want to revert that setting? So there is the concept of a temporary setting in SudokuPad, where basically if a setting gets brought in via the URL, for example, in this case, setting no grid, if you then change to a different puzzle, that setting is reverted to whatever the user had set. So somebody with a link cannot just modify your settings, and maybe you don't, because a lot of people frankly don't even remember what settings they've set, and they've tried something once a long time ago and they don't know, right? So I definitely want to improve setting discoverability. So temp setting. So we want to see, do we want to, if the user chooses from the dialog, yes, use large puzzle mode, we want to revert it? Probably, right? Because large puzzle mode is not necessarily something you want for every puzzle. So if I'm scroll wheeling on a puzzle, I don't want it to suddenly do something when I'm not aware of how it works and what it does, right? Let's see where large puzzle mode, I'm sure, is still experimental. Yeah. So right now it's on, and I believe it won't be on here, but if I reload this, it will now be on here, yes. All right, so this is what happens with the scroll wheel, and I think it's right click to drag. So we need to do a few tests. So I have a little touchpad here connected to my computer. So hopefully I can try out what certain kinds of gestures on, you know, so this is with the touchpad. So this is double. So for example, this is two finger movement. So it looks like two finger up and down is converted to a scroll wheel, maybe, but it does other things as well. So you see it's not working super great. I guess it's converted to a scroll wheel gesture. I don't know how I would right click. Double, no, triple, nope, that's some other gesture. Oh no, everything disappeared. That's not great. Everything disappeared. I'm gonna have to bring all my things back. 1 second. Okay, so that triple finger swipe gesture is some Windows task switchy thing. Let's also, the fact that the page itself scrolls is problematic. It shouldn't be able to scroll the page. Yeah, so that's the other thing. We have a pinch gesture. So I'm going to have to learn a little bit about this touchpad stuff. I have a touch screen here in the bottom right corner. But that touch screen, let me move this down here. Yeah, it only works on the touch screen, so I'd have to move things. Yeah, that touch screen doesn't seem to do anything. That is interesting. I wonder why. Or was it? No. So I can select with the touch screen, but for example, the touch screen doesn't let me swipe or pinch to zoom. So the touch screen seems to simulate mouse, unlike what the touchpad does. So I have to figure out exactly how the touchpad works. All right. Now, one of the question that the person in the email posed, which I copied here, is specifically now, they broke the scroll wheel on their mouse. I don't really want to put features in for people with broken hardware. That's not really my job. But the large puzzle UI needs a bunch of stuff, and I need some sort of on-screen controls, right? And a couple of other things, right? So for example, we want to be able to move the controls over to the edge. We might want to do automatic. There is a... Yeah, there is a... let me see. There's a little extension I installed that somebody else made here that does kind of part of what I wanted to do. So it adds these little thingies. It lets you zoom text here and there, right? So I want to look at that. But what I want to do is kind of a handle here, kind of like this, but that moves the delineation between the puzzle area and the thing. Yeah, so for example, this one, I think it only measures movement on this control, which is why it works so badly. So if you're in the middle of the control, it's all right. But the moment you move off it, suddenly it doesn't work anymore. So, you know, that's definitely a horrible experience that I wouldn't want to build myself. By the way, as usual, please let me know if there's any issues with audio or anything or the stream. Unless somebody comes into the stream and says what's going on, it's hard to tell if there's a problem or not. 1 second. There's... Oh. Shortcuts. Start. Can I? That's weird. Oh yeah, I don't want this. Why is this not start? This should always be start. This should always be... 1 second, my chat window where I normally talk with Greta here is not start. Huh. Can I pin it? No pins yet, board. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. But this window is not in its right spot. Here we go. All right. So, I also need to look into what kind of events we're getting from the touchpad. So let's have a quick look. What sort of events of JavaScript events can I get for touchpads and multi-finger gestures? Because I feel like having track multi-finger gesture in JavaScript can be a bit counterintuitive, because unlike mobile touchscreens, many laptop touchscreens do not trigger standard touch or touch move events. Instead, they translate gestures into other events. Pinch to zoom, the wheel hack. For most modern browsers, 2-finger pinch on trackpad is surfaced as a wheel event with control key properties set to true. All right, so I feel the wheel event is already being triggered. So let's add some logging in here. Wow, I just realized my server has almost reached 1 terabyte of data since the last time I restarted, and that wasn't too long ago. All right, so let's find... no, wait. We want to go here, and then we want to go handle wheel, right? So we want to go here, handle wheel. I'm just going to put that here for a hot second. So if I go here now, reload this, and I might want to reload let's go to this one, an empty puzzle, with a smaller empty puzzle, because it might be faster to reload than the big one, than the big kahuna. All right, so if I scroll wheel now, we get handle wheel, and it does control key false. Okay. And if I double finger swipe, I get control key false as well. Oops. So let's see what the difference here is. If this is a trackpad pinch gesture, how would we know that? Oh, okay. So clear that. And if I now pinch, I get wheel event, control key true. Interesting. 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 All right. So let's have a look at this. .ctrl key. And we have event delta x delta y. All right, and then so delta y. All right, two finger panning scrolling. Two finger swipes are generally provided to the browser as standard scrolling. If the event is scrollable, it triggers a scroll event. If you want to capture the raw movement for a map or custom canvas, you use the wheel event again. Events wheel provide delta xy. Many laptops support momentum inertial scrolling, meaning wheel events will continue to fire for a moment after the user lifts a finger. So, all right, let's refresh this. All right, and if I now use the touchpad, two finger up, two finger up, two finger down, left, right, right, left, pinch, pinch out, pinch in. That's with true. And then double finger up. Whoop, double finger up. It's false. And then scroll wheel is false. Okay, so double finger is like scroll wheel. And pinch is like scroll wheel, but with control key. Okay, that's odd. And triple? Oh yeah, that's the Windows stuff. Okay, so two finger panning around, two finger swipes are typically handled by the browser as standard scrolling. If the element is scrollable, it triggers a scroll event. If you want to capture a raw movement, okay. Point events API is the modern way to handle various inputs, mouse touch, blah blah blah. Some precision touchpads commonly in Windows can fire these directly. Pointer down, pointer up. Multi-finger handle multiple fingers. If you check each point ID individually. Compatibility. Check the blah blah blah. Okay, so handle wheel. Let's have a quick look. Do we get anything here that looks like multiple fingers? In other words, can we detect multiple fingers here? So if I go here and I do this double swipe, because that could be one way of just seeing it. It's like, oh, there's a list of finger inputs. No. Okay. Touch events, touch that, touch mode. Okay, gesture. Safari specific gesture events. Do you specific target? No. I don't want to do this. Wheel system level. Often blocked, used by the OS for task switching. Yes. Tap, click, pointer down. How would I simulate a right click drag on a touchpad? So what would I do to get the pan part of the large puzzle UI? And a drag event is typically hard-coded to the left mouse button. To simulate a right drag, you should use the pointer events to track when the right button is held while moving. Right. Event button equals 2. But how do I right tap on a touchpad? On the right side, I guess? How it works with JavaScript. When a user performs the two-finger tap, the user doesn't send you a two-finger tap event. Instead, it processes that internally fires a standard mouse-like event. So if I go here and I do two-finger and then move, yeah, what? This is the most reliable way to detect a right interaction. It fires regardless of whether the user uses two-finger tap. So if I go here and Ah, this works. Nope. The problem is if I finger tap and then drag, I don't get a right click plus drag, but a 2-finger swipe I.E.wheel instead. Let's see if it can figure that out. Hit the card gesture trackpad hardware. Trackpads are designed to prioritize gestures scrolling over button states. When you place 2 fingers down and move them, the operating system understands a scroll gesture. Achieve a right-click drag. You have 2 options. Use the long press the mobile way. Okay, so if I do long press and then start dragging, okay. So then I have to do this myself. All right. So handle pan, handle start pan capture, start pan. And then handle, where does this get triggered from? Start event names. Okay, let's have a look. Mouse down, touch start. So if I refresh here. Okay. Okay, double pressing gives me a handle start pan capture, which is interesting because I could, after that, translate the wheel, I suppose. Now, if I just tap and press down, I don't get. So the long press. Logic list for pointed out. Okay, so. The events we're looking for, mouse down, touch, start, touch, move, stop events, okay. Listen for pointer down, start time. If the pointer has moved or lifted after 15 minutes, log it into the right click drag mode. Now the thing is, I know that I do listen for long presses because that's our smart select, right? So I can't hijack smart select. So let's first see, because I know that it's using a timer somewhere. Either in puzzle or an app. Probably an app. It's probably supposed to be an app at least. So we should have long input timeout, double input timeout, long input timeout. Okay, let's find long input timeout. Long input timeout ID, this handles special input. All right, so if I do this, and now if I long tap, we had handle special input. So the problem is I either break special input functionality or I double it up. So we could have, I mean, it's not the worst that the selection would happen when you drag. Now if I do double tap, let's see, when we're panning, I want to see how the movement scales basically. So we have handle mouse move. So that is when we're potentially, if type mouse move, touch move, mouse down, touch down. Ah, yes. So we're gonna say delta here. So if we look at the delta, what's the woo, okay. What's the let's disable that startup dialog as well. Gameplay, don't pause and start. Yeah, So if I right click and drag, the numbers are relatively small. And then if I double tap and drag, yeah, it's really hard to press down on the touchpad and then yeah, because I was thinking like ideally 2-finger drag would be drag, and then zoom could be maybe, yeah, maybe I can make 2-finger dragging and then pinch to zoom, right? Instead of 2-finger drag to zoom. So here our delta is, it seems like it's rounded to the nearest pixel. If I do this, it's not reliable though. Like right now I'm swiping and nothing is happening. I mean, it could be the quality of my touchpad as well. Like on a Mac, it might just work all the time. Because you see here, like I just squeeze against my finger a bit and it keeps moving. So let's see if I can hijack the wheel event for a second here, disable the scaling basically, and turn it into a pan thing here instead. So update transform, and pause. So pan pause. So if we look at the pan pause with the normal right click drag for a sec here. So if I right click drag, right, and our pan position is it relative to our start position? Like it's an overall, how far have we panned it? Yeah, so that's just in pixels relative to our start position. So if we want to hijack this, like the wheel is a delta per frame, right? I don't know if there's a sort of wheel start kind of thing. So it says true, and then if I use the wheel, it's false. So if, okay, so we could say, I'm just trying to think if there's some way of because like, I don't think there's a sort of wheel stop, right? There's no wheel start, wheel stop. So we'd have to drop the panning some other way, i.e. anything that's either we have a timeout. Timeout is not good, because if somebody's holding their fingers for a couple of seconds and then continues moving, we don't want it to mess around again. And I don't think we want to go by pure deltas either. Yeah, that's the biggest problem actually, because there'll be drift. Like I can try to translate some of it to, but it'll never feel natural, right? I don't like this. Let's have a quick look at the pointer events then. So start pan capture, for example, where is that handled? Add handler, handle start pan capture. So what if we do add handler, and we'll do, and maybe it should be on the board, but we'll think about that some other time. I don't actually, yeah, I don't even know if this is touch start or not. So let's try to figure that out first, right? So if we do event, the log, we'll just say touch start event, and we'll probably want to do what are the pointer events? Yeah, we definitely don't want to listen to context menu. That's horrible. Aux click. New event specific for non-prime buttons like right. It fires when right tap is released. Aux click. Pointer down. So we have touch start. We have pointer down. And what was the other one? Aux click. Oh geez. Aux click. Well, we might as well look into context menu as well. But I think context menu won't trigger on this object. So if I right click, we get aux click. If I double tap, pointer down, no aux click though. So we get pointer down, aux click gets us that. Let's just quieten this. Interesting. What if I do it on window instead? We can always then scale it back later, because basically this would interfere with all the other HTML elements on the page, like the menus at the top and so on. But for now, I just want to get an insight, right? So double tap fingers, pointer down, triple tap, double tap, one tap. Okay. So we have pointer ID. We have no touch start, which is interesting. I don't know how I can... If I go to the touch screen over here. One sec, I'm just going to check if I can get some touch events. Yeah, I can get touch events. Now, I don't know if that translates to... So I get these touch events. I don't know if that'll translate to mobile simulator. It does. And it did also trigger pointer down. So, does the pointer include multi-touch? No. Pointer type touch, pointer ID 7. It does give us touch. That's interesting. If I look at the touch start event, touches, changed touches 1. So if we do on touch start, we'll do event dot touches dot length, because I don't think there's anything that looks like a multi-touch thing. It does tell us it's touch. It gives us an ID, and I think the ID is to map it to other events. Although ID being 7 doesn't seem very high. Like, it doesn't seem to be a unique ID across the session. Although it does go up to 10. Touch event. Sorry, pointer event. Pointer ID 14. Does it really always increment? Those point IDs could actually help solve certain kinds of problems. All right. I'm also now thinking, okay, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much, because there might be, again, there might be a library I should be using. I think this chat mentioned something at the beginning. Pinch to zoom the wheel hack, sure. Touch events, summary tables, touch events. 3 for right, recommend to use a library like Hammer.js or Interact.js. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Interact.js and Hammer.js. And I mean, these could be old, these could be new. With AI suggestions, you can never know what kind of code it's pulling out of its butt. So 2 years ago, last change for Interact.js. Now, drag drop resets multi-touch gestures, inertial snapping for modern browsers, also IE+. Doesn't sound very modern to me. Multi-touch simultaneous interaction across browser and device supported. The desktop and mobile versions of Chrome, Firefox, and Opera, as well as Internet Explorer. Interaction with SVG elements. Being standalone and customizable. Not modifying the demo except to change the cursor. All right. How big is it? And can I just include a generic thing? Draggable. It uses some sort of... Yeah. Okay, Hammer.js. Okay, sure. Yeah, you see, it doesn't... Ooh, double tap to grab. Oh, but that would be left. Yeah, that's just... That's just... yeah. That's just single left click and drag, which we still need to support separately. Yeah, this doesn't even do double finger thingies. Let's see what HammerJS says. Open source library that can recognize gestures made by touch, mouse, and pointer events. It doesn't have any dependencies. It's small, 7 kilobytes. Okay, that's acceptable. It's easy to use. Include the library and create a new instance. By default, adds a set of tap, double tap, press, horizontal, and swipe. And the multi-touch pinch and rotate recognizes. The pinch and rotate recognizes are disabled by default. So we might look into something like this. But before we do this, I want to go back to this, where we have this sort of generic zoom button, which may kind of be what, like, we might even literally just have a plus minus zoom in, zoom out button that may or may not do most of what we need to do. Let's restore the standard functionality for a moment. I don't think we disabled anything in particular. We disabled this. Disabled that. So if I reload this, it should work, unless it got disabled. No, didn't get disabled, right. So on-screen controls are always recommended, in my mind, but when interacting with mobile devices, because you can never fully control, you know, what's going on. But the reason this was never completed, this was never finished, so I didn't get to that point, right? It was really just for testing, but now there's quite a few of these larger puzzles that people are actually using. So let's start by detecting the puzzle scale. I think one of the things we want to look at is the ratio between these buttons and the puzzle buttons, right? Because that tells us something about the standard scaling algorithm, which tries to keep the keypad at a certain size, right? So if I look at these buttons, right, and we want to look at a button from the group controls buttons, controls small, controls app. All right, so if we do document dot query selector dot controls dash app and a button, right? Controls app, and that's a class name, right? It'll get us a button, and then get bound inclined rect. Boom, right? So that should get us zoomed and scaled things. I think we'll test that. We'll go to our where is it? We had a puzzle that was from sudoku.app which had the controls on. Where is it? Where is it? Yes. Or I just excuse me, or I just enable it for localhost. That might make things easier. But for now, basically what I want to know is, right now this button has a width of 30.81. If I do this and I run this again, it gives us 26. Okay, so I think this is it is relative, or this is the actual size of the button. Although 23 pixels. I'm just wondering if it has some sort of transform factor, like it takes transforms into consideration. Yeah. All right. So that gets us the size of the cell. So before we get too deep into this, let's put it somewhere where we can use it. So let's see, handlers, feature, let's put it under here. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, I want a category for like higher level control stuff, like figuring out if we should be scaling it all. For now, we're just going to do this, right? I'm just going to call it measure scale. Let's just do this generically. So we'll say const ref btn. Right, ref rect. We'll do that for now. A touch element is where we're going to execute measure scale. Right? And the other thing we want to measure is the puzzle. But at this point, the resize might not have happened, except we're executing it here. But we might actually want to wait for the puzzle to get loaded, because a touch element might happen early. But we'll find that out, right? So we'll have that. And the other thing is to get the cell size. And for that, we're just going to go look at handle resize, right? And ultimately, the board width divided by the number of rows and columns basically gives us the cell size, right? But we might want to go in there and measure it particularly, right? So we have game bounds. Yeah, we probably need to just do that. So this, and I don't think we need to go, or I don't think we want to go to the SVG. We need to go to cells. Although I don't know if I want to be dependent on this, because that's not actually used for anything else. I don't think cells is used for anything else, or for anything at all. I'm not even sure if it's ever being used. So the question is grid always the exact size of the grid? Or does it include something outside? The SVG is actually bigger than the grid. I think grid is what we want, right? So we'll do a grid element. So this is just .grid. And the number of rows and columns, I think we can just grab from our board, right? So framework.app. And sorry, this is super tiny for you guys. There's a 4K monitor and the stream is not 4K. Rows and calls, is that part of grid? I think grid? I think this might be under puzzle. Grid dot rows and calls, right? So we can say const grid. We'll probably want to do app puzzle grid equals framework. Right. So console.log grid refrect dot width dot height, and then we can say grid rect is grid element dot this. Do that. So if we refresh this now, basically what I want to see is if at the time that this executes, is the board already correctly sized? Because if it's a large puzzle and it's still loading, it might not be the case. So having a large slow loading puzzle as a test case here is actually helpful. I haven't seen anybody joining the stream, so I hope I'm live. If you're watching, please say hi in chat. That would help me to know that I'm not just making a big mistake somewhere. And I'm streaming, right? Let's hope so. All right, so we have our reference rectangle. Yeah, so the reference rectangle at this point doesn't exist, right? So normally what we want to do is we want to wait for the puzzle to get loaded. And before I try to remember exactly how I do this, I want to look at somewhere else where it very specifically does this. So here it loads at multiple places. So loaded, progress loaded, and start is probably where we want to initialize this whole thing. So we're gonna do we're gonna do something like this: const app puzzle equals framework, and then we'll just say this, and then we'll say handle init puzzle. Let's call it this for now. And then here we're just gonna do p.handle init puzzle. Let's just gonna call this group init. And that should happen at a time when the puzzle is indeed ready to be loaded. So then we can execute that there. We're gonna do this here. We're gonna do this here. And then we can kind of tell each time, because it'll happen more than once. Hopefully we can tell the different situations and circumstances and until we're the right one. So for example, if the ref drag is 0, we're not in the right spot, right? But for example, it seems that before, like, whichever ones these are, all of them give us the correct sizes already. Let me also do this. If I do this, right, it gives me no information. Darn. Can I just do dot bind this start? I feel like that's a mistake I've made in this event system, that it doesn't pass which event got fired through as some sort of event object. So if we do this, loaded progress, loaded start. Okay, start is the last one, but we probably don't need to, we don't even need to wait till progress loaded. Loaded should be enough, because after loaded, we should have the size right. So we should be able to do just one of these. And then measure scale happens, and grid has our rows and calls, right? So we can say rows, calls, and that's not an array, that's another little set of props, right? And then we can say grid. I'm just gonna indent these. So what we want to do is width divided by calls, and then height divided by rows, and that should give us comparable sizes. So for example, not low. Wait, what? Oh, I think if it loads fast, this initializes after. What? Or I put in a error. Sometimes I get these weird situations where it doesn't output anything, or it doesn't load the latest files, because I have like an error somewhere, but it doesn't give me any kind of error. What? It's because of cache, because of disable cache. Oh. So it had an error before, and it probably disabled large puzzle mode. And I never saw an error, so I didn't know. Where is large puzzle mode? Enable Hangout streaming. Where is large puzzle mode? Is the whole file not valid anymore? What? Yeah, there's some circumstances where I get no errors at all. So I have some sort of error in here somewhere. What did I add? I pulled in rows and calls. Is that the problem? because this should definitely be at the top here. Okay, so because then the setting gets disabled, right? But the setting wasn't even available. Yeah, so this syntax gives me, my god, what the heck? So 1 second. If I don't do this, if I get to here, does that mean this grid will not have a rows and columns property, maybe? Is that what happened? One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm missing the thing. Why do I not get a freaking syntax error for that? I guess it's my own fault for using JavaScript. But I don't know. That feels like a thing it should be able to figure out. Okay, let's reload. So, loaded, progress, loaded, start, measure, scale, and then none of these things are happening. Because I'm guessing this should also trigger on attach element, because obviously when I enable it after at a later stage, we also want to run this. So we kind of want to do this. And then we need to figure out how I only execute this the one time that is needed, right? So it skips these. All right. So now, for example, in these cases, we can see that the grid width and height are smaller than these. And we can go to a puzzle like this. And if I refresh that, we get a different ratio. So probably what I want to do is I want to calculate the ratio and then take the smaller ratio or the bigger ratio, depending on which way I calculate it, right? So we want to calculate W ratio and width ratio and height ratio, right? And the width ratio is this divided by that, and the height ratio is heights divided by that divided by rows. And then we're actually just going to do width ratio, height ratio, like that. Get rid of these and refresh. So these are currently the same on a very large, so they'll get bigger. So we probably want to invert them. So we want them to get smaller, the smaller the cell is, right? And we want to get them close to 1, 1. So we get this. We also want a puzzle with very large cells. So this should now be a ratio larger than 1, right? Yeah, 4.4. It means these are roughly 4 times the size of these. Although, are they? They seem to be more than 4 times. They are slightly more than 4 times. Yeah, okay, okay, makes sense. And then on this puzzle, the ratio will be very small. 0.4. And then on this, I think smaller. 0.3. All right. And then we get ratio equals math.min, W ratio, and H ratio. Call it min ratio. And now this gives us a number where we want to find some sort of cutoff where we say, okay, if we're below that cutoff, we want to scale it or whatever, right? So for example, let's say a small phone screen. And we need to recalculate. Well, I don't know if you need to recalculate it because, well, yes, you do. No, I'm thinking like, do we want to like offer puzzle mode because you're scaling your window? Probably not, right? So 0.4. So we might want to offer large puzzle mode around 0.5, I imagine. Like if I go here, so this will still be larger than 1, and a standard 9x9 should be around, yeah, not too far off 1. Okay, cool. So we can say if it's smaller than, let's say 0.5 or 0.6 or 7, somewhere around that, that's when we kind of want to offer the large puzzle mode. All right, so that's actually a good first step. So then the next step is on-screen control, similar to what we have here. So we have that, right? Let's have a quick look at, because this is the Font Awesome icon, right? So can I just look at that? Nope. I didn't want to click it. Uh-oh. Oh, where is it? Is it off screen? Oh, yeah. So what I really want to do is this. So we have an SVG here. Copy. Alt.html, right? So this is our SVG. Okay, so that's pretty close to the kind of SVG iconage that I can use. All right, it's not super important, but we could potentially just turn that into one of our internal icon things. Now what I did here is the plus and the minus is overlaid with a second one, like this one. All right, I think we basically first want to figure out where these controls would live. And I'm guessing since this is primarily gonna be helpful, well, it's gonna be helpful to YouTubers and streamers, right? So first of all, let's reset. How much space do we have? So we're already scaling to have the puzzle very close to the bottom edge, which is slightly annoying. Because I was hoping like, oh, we can just put the icons near the bottom because, you know, on a phone, that's where you want your UI controls. But we're already squishing everything near the bottom. If I add a button here to the tools panel, like this, then we'd have space for some controls. I mean, what we could do is we could just move it up a little, right? After all, we are... Can't even right-click here. That's so annoying. Now we're zoomed, huh? But, like, we could move it up and then just have the buttons float here. Alright, so attach element currently attaches all the event handlers, but it doesn't actually attach the UI elements. Well, because we don't have any. Right. So we probably want to have a function that says, you know, we'll have a GUI. So we'll probably want to have something here. And for now, we'll just... I'm trying to think what is the best way to do it. Do I want to just add a div to the body of the page and then just position it mechanically? Because even to figure out exactly where the top of the controls are and stuff like that is a little annoying. And it's probably also something that I don't need to solve right now. So right now, let's just put them wherever, right? So we'll say dot attach GUI. We'll do that. And we'll just add that down here. That's really all we want right now. Then here we'll just say, let me think of another feature where we're modifying. I think most of the other features we're putting things in here. I mean, that's the other thing. We could add the buttons to one of the existing UI panels, but we don't, like if I want to add multiple buttons, like not just zoom, but like pan, we might actually want to have like arrows and stuff like that. Although for panning, drag controls should be largely sufficient. I mean, the other thing we could do is have some sort of tool that if you press and then click, it centers that cell. So then you don't really need pan and scan stuff. What is this button? This looks like some sort of usability thing. DOM tree view. Oh, okay, no, we don't want that. Is that because I'm selecting the SVG element? Oh, what is this? This is... like, how is this useful? Oh, geez. Okay. That doesn't seem super useful to me. Alright. Alright, so for now, let's just do it. We'll say document.attach to insert adjacent HTML. Hi. Before end. Right? So if I do this, it breaks. Min ratio infinity, attach element, min ratio. Okay, let's just document.body. Sure. Does that mess up my setting? Probably. I got everything wrong. I guessed everything incorrectly. That's just how it happens sometimes. Still nobody joining the stream. That's so sad for me. So sad. Alright. Refresh. Still broken. Why? I'm surprised the setting even fires. Insert adjacent. Am I misspelling that? Is it capital HTML? Yeah, alright. It bugs me though that I don't get any errors. Why do these errors get swallowed? Oh, am I not logging them? No issues. Console. 10 messages. Oh, I'm filtering errors out somehow. How do I change this? How do I disable log filtering in DevTools console? These are for watch thingies. Accidentally, there's nothing there. Filter is empty, and next to it, it says custom levels, but that is grayed out and I cannot change it. How do I change that? No, the sidebar isn't open. Sidebar isn't open. It always makes these wrong assumptions. That's so annoying. Grayed out, the sidebar is definitely closed. DevTools is likely stuck in a locked UI state or experiencing a minor glitch. Toggle the sidebar. Still active even if it's hidden. Reset DevTools settings. I would prefer not to. DevTools window, not the console filter. How would I even know if that's happening or not? How do I change the custom level? Ah, it's so annoying. Hard reload DevTools. Ah, custom levels. Here we go. Default. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, I did that for a couple of streams ago, I think, because there was something spamming that I was getting rid of. All right. Does that fix it now? Insert adjacent HTML is not a function. Insert adjacent HTML is not a thing. Are you kidding me? Why? How is that not a thing? Insert a document dot body dot. Did I not capitalize that? I thought I capitalized that a moment ago. Oh, the AI assistant has. The AI assistant has it. 1 second. Yeah, the AI assistant had its own custom UI. So now I remember. I could have used that. You see, it wasn't too long ago. All right. So now if I go here and go to the end of the page, we have our little high div. All right. Let us have a quick look at what we did here. So for the AI assistant, the April Fool joke, that is not AI at all, so don't worry about that. So we have a create UI, and we're kind of doing this, and then I'm guessing we have the style sheet here. All right, since this is super temporary, I'm gonna see if I can do it without the style sheet. So we're just gonna do this for now, with inline styles basically. So we're gonna just do this and this and this. Excuse me, nose is itching. Oh my god, why is my nose itching suddenly? So if I do this and I say display position absolute, top 0, left 0, width 100%, right 100%. So that should get us to cover the whole thing, and then I could say background red, right? So if we do this, and we could probably just use one of the smaller test puzzles here, so it loads faster. There we go. It's all right. All right. So now we can place some buttons, and we can say button, and then we can say Unicode magnifying glass. So we can grab this one and put it in our Nutten. Nope. Nope. Grab this, select this, delete it, put that in there, and do that. Right. And if I refresh this now, we'll have this. Okay. I thought I heard a weird noise. Okay. Okay. Margin top 100 px. We obviously need to figure that stuff out. And we're just going to make these really dumb. Plus and minus, right? Something like this. Boom, boom. Right. If I say text, you know what? Let's just do this. If I do this and I do style, right, width, auto. If I do this, is it gonna take up less space? No, because it's still a block element, right? Width, if I do text align right, does that work? Hey, there we go. And padding right 1 rem, something like that, right? And then these obviously can be smaller, whatever, right? Boom, boom, boom. So then this we can do something like ID zoom in. And probably in the future we prefix it with large puzzle or whatever. But we can do this. And then for now, we're gonna do document dot query. Don't I have a cell? I have a function somewhere in utilities for resolve selector. If I do this, I say button. Yeah, so I can just do resolve selector, right? So I can just say resolve selector hashtag zoom in, for example, right? And then I can say dot add event listener zoom in. And then we'll do the same thing for zoom out. Right? Can just do that. Or not. Why the error's gone again? Default. Refresh. Resolve selector is not a function. Oh, because it returns an array. Okay. Oop. So resolve selector zoom in 0, does that not return an element? Failed to exit on event target. 2 arguments required. What? I'm guessing here this thing is not available yet. That's kind of weird. All right. Const btn zoom in equals this. Nope. Equals this. Zoom out. Right. And then we have this, and then this. Whoops. This should just work, right? I don't see any reason why not. Add event listener, right? That's all we need. No, we need an event name. Of course. Sometimes I'm just skipping all the steps. There we go. Program was only so easy, right? So, boom, boom. In, out. All right. Now, currently when we do handle wheel, we do handle zoom in, out. And then get event position event. Zoom in, out. Event pause. Why does that matter for zoom in, out? Oh, because it's zooming on our cursor. So if we want to do generic zooming, because right now when we're scroll wheeling, it zooms towards the mouse cursor. When we're pressing the buttons, we just want to zoom in on the current spot. So we can do 2 things. We can just bypass all this and calculate the zoom levels and just go in by 1 zoom level. So zoom step, that's per scroll wheel zoomerino. Next zoom level, zoom delta, zoom factor, and position. Next zoom level, min zoom level, max zoom level, zoom delta, in out, zoom step. Oh my gosh. Okay. Next zoom level, min zoom level. sure. So I think we want to look at the current zoom level first. Hey guys! So we'll say const angle zoom in. Something like that. I'm just gonna put that there. And then we'll just put that here. Or down. So if I do this, and I press the plus button, get a handle zoom in. If I go here, and I refresh that, and I press the plus button, as soon as the puzzle's loaded, which takes a while apparently. Or not. Where's the puzzle? Why is it not finding the puzzle? It should find the puzzle eventually. Oh, there it is. Weird. All right. So if I press +1, if I go here, scroll wheel, it doesn't want to zoom me. It doesn't want to drag me. Is the setting not enabled? It doesn't let me click here. I can't click on these buttons because the div is covering everything. That's fine. If I do pointer events none here, can the button still receive? Pointer. No, not pointer events. Pointer events, user select, none. So why is it suddenly not loading the puzzle again? What is it struggling with? That's so weird. Yeah, so that works now. I can do this. One second, what just happened here? Why is half my... Why did this just go all red? Now it's not red anymore. Something going on the server. Yeah, should restart the proxy. The memory is getting full again. If I scroll wheel here, it doesn't let me scroll wheel. It doesn't let me right click, and it still doesn't let me press any of the buttons. User select, none. Pointer events, none. Because I misspelled it. All right. I need a better pipeline. All right, so now I can zoom in. And now if I do plus, if I do pointer events all on this, that's all. Okay, so all I want to see is, okay, it's a percentage zoom. So the zoom level I actually need to calculate accordingly. Oh, that's annoying. So zoom step. So in out, zoom step. Zoom step is... Where's zoom step coming from? Zoom factor, then this dot base scale. Zoom step. Handle resize. So zoom step is changed. So 1 second. Zoom step. Then what else do we need? We need zoom step. Yeah, I feel like I need to wrap this into one where it's not relative to position. Because I think this calculation is independent of the zoom stuff, although it needs to know the zoom factor, sure. So we'll probably want to refactor this into what's movement related and what's zoom related. So we'll do something like this, zooming, and then we'll do panning. Right. So most of this will be zooming, except for zoom factor. And zoom level. So zoom factor goes... None of these needs to be LEDs, right? GX isn't changed. There's something weird happening. As I click on this, my console down here is updating, which is very strange because it's a shell into a remote server. And I don't really want it to change when I click but things in a different window. All right. Zoom factor. So this definitely doesn't need to be here, but can live here. And then we'll do this. And I think this can actually live here. So that should still work. We shouldn't be breaking the existing functionality here. Yes, okay. And I think all of these are consts. And I think all of these can be consts as well. Like that. Right? Yeah, I need to... It's strange that it isn't local. Didn't I update yesterday? I thought I updated the database. And this is not a brand new puzzle either. 1 second. I'm gonna check out why this is not in the local database. So I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be. Whoops. And I might have to... Nope, that's the wrong one. What's my Mongo? Geez. Compass. This is for Redis, which I'm not using in this project yet. All right, so if I go to local and go to PuzzleDB2, go to puzzle info, and I'll say short IDs. And then I should be able to say contains like that. Nope. I think I might be able to do this on an array, right? Oh no. We want short IDs. Oh, short IDs, short ID. Okay. So short ID is that. I think that'll do it. Nope. Oh my god, I've done this so many times. How do I query MongoDB for elements in arrays? All in. Insert tags contains. Okay, so this should be dollar. So we want dollar in this in no. I have documents with short IDs array that contains objects with a short ID property And I want to find all documents with a specific short ID. Oh, the dot notation, of course. Because that's super intuitive for a programmer, not for a programmer. So I should be able to just do that. Yeah, I haven't touched this stuff in a while. Oh, no results. Seriously? If I that's very strange. So we should be able to do that because I've done this backup not very long ago, right? 510. No, that's today. This backup is from... It doesn't tell me which one it's using. This should just pull the latest one. But it doesn't say which one that is. I should really add that. Alright, that'll take a minute. Alright. I don't know why that's open. In the meantime, we've now pulled these two out. So we should be able to just take all this. So we have the zoom. We'll have this. Handle zoom. So we either just copy... For now, we're just going to copy this. Base scale is greater than max base scale. Base scale. No. I don't know what that means. Alright, let's just copy this down for now. So don't know why this is open. So we have this. We'll also be able to do base scale. And then before we do update transform, we want to do zoom level and next zoom level. So we have zoom level and next zoom level. I don't even know if I can reload right now while it's doing that database restore. How is it so big? Jeez Louise. How big are the backups now? 1 second. I'm gonna have a quick look-a-rooney at the backup. Is it in here? Bad. I'm gonna be. Date modified. That should be the most recent one. If I open that. Ooh, that was very white. So it's a packed 1 GB file. How is it only 600 megabytes, but it's packed to 1 GB? That doesn't make any freaking sense. Also, these all failed. That's interesting. I'm going to delete them for now. Or should I keep them? Probably not. If I double click this, compress size. Elapsed time. Total size 1 GB. Compress size. So that's 4 GB. I don't know why it says. No, I don't actually want to open it. I don't say. Oh, the column was cut. Okay, so it's 5 GB. Okay, the database is 5 GB. All right. And we get the error in the end, but if I do this now, a refresh. All right, I'm gonna have to dig into that, but that puzzle should definitely be in here. Very strange. I might have to... restarting is not going to do anything here, is it? But right now, if I access this, it should work, right? Hello? How can I resize this? It's not letting me. Ah, this is so annoying. All right. If I'm here and I refresh this, it's still not found. Very strange. Handle API special for not found. Okay, anyway. So we're here now. So we're pressing plus at this point. In out not defined. Oh yeah, so in out is the +1 -1, I think. Yeah, in out should just be 1 or -1. So in out it's 1. So if I go here, I think I can zoom in, right? I might not be able to zoom this one because of the min-max stuff. Okay, why is this not loading now? It's top 20. No, that's 20 milliseconds. I don't know. Yeah, I can zoom here. Right. I'll have to do this and maybe even this. I think this might actually load faster because I think this one is cached locally. Right, so if I zoom, if I do this and then press plus. Okay, now we got some numbers. So it's doing a handle zoom in. This is the current zoom step. Base case is 0.1828. Zoom level is 1.3, and the next zoom level would be this. All right, so if I do this now and then refresh that, and then I just say plus, 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 I can drag this around, minus, minus, minus. So we'll do the zoom out as well. And it'll zoom and out. So that's our zooming out. Then we'll just say handle zoom in. So this is actually handle zoom in 1. And then this would be handle zoom in, or handle zoom -1. Right. And then we'll just say handle zoom in out. Boom. And then we don't need any of this other stuff. And that should just work. Just works, right? So, brum, 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 brum. Okay. Now, I don't know if we want this sort of stepwise zooming, but I think for now that might be good. I don't know if dragging... I don't like how the dragging works at the moment. And I probably want to take something from this. Basically, the difference here is that we're in a pure zoom mode, at which point I don't need to do anything else but drag. And then when we're here, I can click on things again. Whoops. Why did you do that? All right. While here, we need to interact with the puzzle at every level. What's the maximum zoom? I think one of the problems is it zooms relative to the center of the puzzle. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's not good, actually, because we can literally zoom the puzzle off screen. So we need to zoom it relative to the center of the board area. Okay. So we kind of have to reverse engineer our position here instead. So here it subtracts this times that. GA bounce left plus half of the width. Negative of this. If this is at 0, 0, is that relative to the position or relative to the upper left corner? That's basically what I'm trying to figure out here. Get event position. So it's just relative to the screen. Yeah, so it should zoom directly to the location of the cursor. So instead of zooming to this, okay, all right. So let's just calculate that that position instead. So instead of doing all of this, we basically want to calculate left plus that. So then if we pass that in, we subtract that, we end up with a dx of 0. Wait a second though. The pan position changes. Oh yeah, so we're moving the pan position, which with each zoom step. But the pan position times zoom factor delta x, because if delta x and delta y is 0, so this is the center of. It's the center of the. Oh wait. What are we moving? What are we panning in? Because GA is board. Board element, right? GA bounce. That should be BO, not GA. GA stands for game. So by not updating them when I wrote this originally, I'm confusing myself here. Okay. So we need game and board. So we have board. Do we have GAEL? No. We have board. So we can say BX and BY is that. And then we can say game bounds. Where's that assigned? Here. So we can do this. Game. Because game doesn't move. Oh, wait, no. Ooh. We wanted relative to the current pan position, don't we? Oh, one sec. My brain. In other words, can I reverse engineer the center position of the unzoomed board? That's basically my question. Because this is all messed up, obviously. And the game is just the whole thing. And we don't want to zoom relative to the center of that. We want to, because we don't know where the board originally would have been. And this thing is being moved all around the place. And in fact, we can tell what it's being moved by because we are applying that, right? So when we do update, whatever, update transform, we execute this, and we're doing some sort of translation shenanigans, right? So we have that, the pan position, X, Y, and the scale. So the question is, if we want to bring it back to the original position, because, one second, if I disable transform, it's here. If I change these, oh, because we're overriding the transform that's set. Wait, what? Do we handle resize here? Yeah, we do. We do. Oh no. Yeah, so we're recalculating the scale no matter what happens here. Wow. Yeah. Because I think so if I refresh this right now and I don't do any additional transform from the large puzzle UI, right? But we can go here. We have, okay, so it's 0 there. And the base scale is calculated. Okay, so we do have the base scale. And we have the base position. Because if I move this right now, right? Left doesn't change. And if I zoom in, left, okay, left and width and such doesn't never changes, right? 1 second. If I reset this to 0, that's our X and Y pan position, right? And the scale, I set it to 1. Like that. Then the left of 360. So I think I can calculate the original position, i.e. this 0, 0 position from these using the scale. Shall we try that? So scale is 0.11, right? So if I take the width and multiply it, nope. Take the width, multiply it by 0.113. That's the width. That's 365. If I take the left, which is 428, and then we add 0.5 times that, and then we multiply, sorry, we add 0.5 times the width, and we multiply that by that, we get 230. Now the X here, the left, is positive, while if the scale was 1, our X would be off screen, right? So that tells me we already have the minus 50%, right? So if we change this to 1 and we change this to 0, i.e. not minus 50%, now the left is, if it's 0, it's there, it's 430. So this is our 428 number. Okay, so to get the center of the puzzle, which is here, that is the left and the top here. This is literally 428, and this is 232. And the scale doesn't change that, right? Because of the minus 50%. So we literally can just use the left and top of that thing. The question is, if I do a document dot query selector board, if we take that and we say that get bounding client rect dot x, it's 245, which is not left, dot left, it's 245. So that's the calculate stuff. If I do instead dot left, no, x, no, position, no, client left 0, can we get some sort of property off of this thing that just gives us the width without having to go through the CSS? And we don't want the computed, we want the actual set left. Offset left 428, offset left. All right, so if we look at offset left, then, so if I say offset left, hey, Mr. Fizz, sorry, I didn't see you. Yeah, I'm basically looking at the puzzle, large puzzle UI, which lets you move and zoom into things. And I'm basically trying to improve it and continue working on it. So for example, I'm probably going to add some on-screen controls for mobile users and kind of polish it up, because quite a few people are starting to use it now. So it definitely deserves some attention to get out of experimental mode. So if I do this, if I say const blah offset top equals, and I say bo element here, which comes out of there, and I rename them to box and boy, and then I forget about these for a sec. Box boy. So if I say sol.log /boy, and then if I do this, right? Are you still there? Probably wandered off because I didn't look at the chat in so long. Sorry. Got used to nobody watching. Whoops. Why is it taking so long? Is it faster? Probably not. How about this one? So if I press this button, so we got this number. So if I now pretend that is the position of the mouse, it should do what we want it to do. So we want to go handle zoom in out. And we're just going to do this dot handle zoom in out. And I pressed some buttons and it jumped somewhere. I'm lost. Okay. And we'll just do this. And then we'll put that in there as if this is our positions array. Right? And now, when I press plus, it should just zoom in to the center of the board. If it ever finishes doing whatever it's doing. I need to look into this. This is taking way too long. All right. Plus. Okay. Now if I pan it and then I press plus. Yes, this is what I wanted. Okay, now we're zoomed in maximally. We can do this, and I can pan to here, zoom in, zoom out, and it doesn't do anything weird. Okay. If I refresh this now, curious how long that'll take. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So we can up zoom in, we can drag it over here, zoom in, zoom out, drag it down here, zoom in, zoom out. Okay. We still have performance issues and all this other stuff, right? But that is now a proper working zoom control via on-screen buttons. Obviously, they're not in the right place and they don't look great and all that stuff. But this is basically how I'd have to do it. You'd have to do this. Right. I don't think I can destruct that into an array in some weird way. And don't need that. Yeah, so this is one way of doing it. And I think this could be the way. And then we could experiment with pan buttons on a mobile device. I don't know what... I mean, we don't have a lot of space, right? Like, to have a little... I can't right click. It's so annoying. And it's taking me... It's doing something. Did it just literally... Why is there no back button option? Oh, because it was like a gesture and it did the back button, and that's why I went to the empty tab. Okay. All right. So I can't right click, drag. Which is super annoying. So, what are our options? Long press. We could also press a button and now have a hourglass? No, because we don't have a cursor, right? Well, what I'm thinking is basically have a, when you press this and then you press again and it'll center that point and zoom in. Press this, press again, and center on that, right? So you're basically changing our tool to now be a jump to that place tool. So in other words, basically toggle one of these buttons, which by the way don't work. Why do they not work? If I do this and press, they work. If I'm in touch mode, the button doesn't click? Really? This button doesn't click. Wait a second. If I do on click, log click, right? If I click here, nothing. If I click here, click. If I go here, nothing. Why? Click event not firing in mobile simulation mode in Chrome Dev Tools. Why is that? Common headache with debugging Chrome. When you switch to mobile simulation, Chrome engages how it handles input, switching from standard mouse events to touch events, which can sometimes swallow the standard click event. This most likely fixes rank for quick and super code issues. The hard refresh requirement. Switch the events handling logic until the page is fully reloaded with mobile simulation is already active. Check the overlapping events. Mobile layouts often shift events around. A common culprit is a transparent overlay or container with a higher Z index that is blocking your button in the mobile view, but not on desktop. Why would it do that? Why would that be different? I mean, I'm guessing it's because of this pointer events none. Like, I'm guessing this is interpreted differently. No. So out of mobile mode, this works, and in mobile mode, it doesn't. Why? Okay, if we reload in mobile mode, will it work then? That would be crazy. No, it still doesn't work. What? What the heck is going on here? What does it want me to look for? Touch events. Touch events. Touch API. Events. Oh, it's already 9 o'clock, guys. I'm gonna have to stop soon. But this is really annoying. Detected is this blocking your check incident. Point events auto. Follows the element to be interactive. Point events. No. Is it a z-index thing? If I say z-index 1 gajillion, can I now click the button? Nope. Of these work. It's a button element with a click handler. But the click itself never finishes. If your app or library has a listen on mouse down, no other listeners on the button. Let's just do this and give it this code. Only this code. Where point events all is often ignored if the parent container has a point events none. While this works on desktop, blah blah blah. Fix invert the logic. Auto. Point events. But inside a pass-through container. Instead of putting the clipboard button inside, you should remove the point events none from the parent and apply it only to the errors that actually need to be transparent. Right, we don't actually need the parent, I think, at all. This doesn't even make sense. So if I just do this, this might be all we really need, to be fair. What did I break? What the heck? App and can read properties undefined. Reading add event listener. Oh. Now, obviously, because of the error, it got disabled. On. Back. Oh. Yeah. One sec. Position. Absolute. Top. 100 px. Right. 0. So if I do this. Okay. Okay. Still doesn't work. Changed to this. Oh, still doesn't work. Changed. Let's see. Touch targets. Mobile use touch slop or broader hit areas. When the parent has a point of its none, the touch area calculator often terminates early and never evaluates the point of it all on the chart. Okay. Well, none of that should be a problem now. Issue like license combination Chrome handles simulated touch and a potential timing issue with insert adjacent HTML. Click event is actually a synthetic event fired after a sequence of touch start and touch end. The browser thinks the user is starting to pan scroll the background common with absolute elements which will cancel the click. Disable touch action. Oh my god, I'm just pressing a button. There are many other buttons in this app that work fine. So I can't imagine this button would need special treatment. Like, why does this button need special treatment? I might have to do the thing with the passive or whatever. Fix add in the index ghost. Many mobile apps, the main content container relay has a high Z index while your buttons appear visually on top. The tab might not be intercepted by the transparent container. Okay, whatever. Just open DevTools inspect element tool. Click exactly on the button, look at the elements panel. Sure. Boom. Elements panel. Which is the elements panel? Oh yeah. Elements panel, if it highlights anything other than your button elements, shield blocking you click. No. Current width 100. Your current code has right with text align right on a narrow mobile screen. Another absolute element like a sidebar hidden menu has even a smaller fit. Oh, Jesus Christ. Please change the outer diff style to width auto. This is only as big as the buttons. Width auto. Fix change up. Dead zone simulation. Chrome's mobile simulation mimics various device screens. Right 0 to right 50 to start working for you. Right 0, right 50 px. Nope, none of these work. Text align right, padding right, one end, point events all. Okay, none of those work. Click hit on window dot on click. Click hit e target. Paste this in your console and click the button. All right. The click hit test doesn't fire on the button, but else where it does. If you click the button because it says click hit some other element, you found your blocker. Nothing logs at all. The pointer event non-logic from your parent controller is still active in stripping the event, but there is no pointer event non-logic. That is for stacking context. The button is appended document. It sits at the bottom of the DOM. In mobile simulation, if your main app container has position, relative, or absolute. Very common in mobile layouts, it's creating a stacking context that might visually appear behind your button, but logic sits on top of your touch events. Why? Auto Z index. All right, let's do this. Why the hell is this not working? This is bizarre. Can I click? Yeah, I can click on the diff. So, the click hit test fires for the diff containing the buttons, but not the buttons. Element is too small. Chrome's touch adjustment logic tries to determine what the user meant to hit. If the button has no explicit height, width, or very small text, no, the buttons are very big. Come on, like 4 rem or more. The hit test returns the parent diff instead of the button. The browser hit testing engine is literally unable to see the buttons in the internet. If it's reported as the target, we know the click is reaching the corner and passing through. It's actually very tricky to trigger the hit test on the diff since the buttons are so big. It only works near the space around the buttons, not on the buttons. I told it doesn't trigger when I click the button. Yeah, let's try the true thing. Because I think I had that for other event handlers elsewhere. Nope. All right, so it's still wrong. Still wrong. Nope, nope, nope. No. On-click fire in the console. Nope. Okay. Sure. Boom. Oop. Okay. The on pointer down test does work for the buttons. Click doesn't found the culprit. Chrome small information canceling the click event. Fires the browser sees a clean touch start followed. The Chrome simulation is very sensitive movement. If your body, blah blah blah. But why do other buttons work fine? Oh my god, stand counts last child penalty. You use insertion before and on the body. You're placing your buttons at the very bottom. Remember, the main app container has position relative overflow by auto. Conflict on mobile Chrome. Assigns touchpad to the main scrollable container. Yeah, the buttons are okay. What if I insert it after start? After begin. So control auto. So this fires button pointer down. Button pointer down, click hit, group items. Okay. Button pointer down, zoom in. Zoom out. Click hit. It doesn't do a click hit. It's so bizarre. Conflict on changing it to doesn't work either. There is no transition, no movement, nothing fancy, no framework. Why do other buttons work though? I almost want to say that the AI thing has a button. So if I do this, right? Yes, try. So that's just a button, right? So if I go back in here and I say try AI assistant, yes. And then I go to this thing, right? Yeah. Other code with injected HTML and buttons with click handler do work though. Position. The height hidden capture layer. The map leaflet openly Google Maps or Canvas ban these buttons. No. Conflict. Even if your buttons are visually on top, the background library calls stop. There is no background library, no canvas, etc. Like I said, other buttons work fine. Touch action very important. No, none of them need that. Let me have a quick look. Do we use click here? I would imagine we do. Overlay click. How did I do the thing with the buttons? Because that's actually kind of fancy. Create a button. That's not even add chat button. Here we go. Add lock button. What does add lock button do? Child button handler dot bind this. Add down event handler. Wait, what does down event handler do? Down event handler does. Well, we don't really need to care. Because if down event lender works, we can just use it, right? Mouse down and touch start. So if I do this, like that, and then like that, and I'm wondering if that's why I used that instead, because I had issues in the past. And I didn't want to hassle with it, so I wrapped it up in a function so it would just always work. I wouldn't have to worry about it. Yes, alright. Alright. Okay, yeah, so this would work. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it here. This is a bit of a mess, but it's old code, and it was very quickly done back in the day. I also need to figure out why this puzzle doesn't show up in my local database. A lot of little issues. But I definitely want to continue working on this and clean it up and improve it. And I feel like I've gotten... Thinking Games gives me a chance to kind of build higher quality code in a completely separate code base, and it's a lot simpler than Sudoku Pad, so obviously it's kind of nicer to work with, and it's easier to clean it up and build it out and all that stuff. So one day Sudoku Pad will be as good as Thinking Games. For sure. Obviously Sudoku Pad is a lot more complex, so you know, you gotta cut me a little bit of slack. All right, it's getting super late, and I need to do some thinky work still outside of this stuff, some admin work. I need to write an invoice, and I'm getting tired, and it's gonna be very tricky. So in the meantime, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. And sorry, Mr. Fizz, that I did not reply to you while you were watching. That's how it goes sometimes. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend. Maybe I'll see you at SudokuCon. Otherwise, see you in the next one.